Hey friends, Ari Koinuma here. Happy Music Monday, and thanks for tuning in. So today I wanted to share with you my thoughts on what songs make me cry and look at, what qualities do the songs have to sort of get to a point where your audience gets teary-eyed. And I wanted to share with you some of my favorite songs that always get to me. Um, so that you might agree or you might not agree with my choices, but it makes you think of other songs that make you cry. And the reason why I thought of this is because in as I mean, as everybody knows, we're in the middle of pandemic right now, and there's a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. And when there's so much of these kind of feelings that we consider undesirable, right? One of the best things to do to stay healthy is to actually cry. If there is so much of it built up inside, if you cry, it makes you feel better. And as a grown man, I firmly believe in power of crying. And my share of crying that I do these days is not necessarily from the pandemic; it's more from the more personal sort of a transition that I'm going through right now. But nevertheless, crying is a good thing, and music making us crying is a healing catharsis kind of thing. So I wanted to talk about what in music can enable us to do that, and to introduce you to some songs that makes me do that. So before we dive into specific songs, let us consider what qualities do songs have to get that kind of emotional reaction. So obviously, the song has to, well, and we're talking about songs with words. I mean, there are times, of course, songs without words are so powerful and emotional that it makes us cry. But let's just set that aside. That's for another video, perhaps. But for songs with words, obviously the words have to convey something that is emotional, right? So whether it's tragic thing or something that makes you yearn for something, or it might be something that you feel inside deeply or strongly, but something that you don't really get to tell other people or get to express in other ways. Those are the kind of things that the songs can touch upon and sort of incite an emotional reaction. And of course, it needs to feel sincere in how that is portrayed. If you feel like there is a bit of a, how should I say, attempts to be cliche, or to, if it feels kind of melodramatic in a way, or if it's kind of so understated that there's nothing being overtly expressed, you might not feel compelled to sort of get your emotions out listening to the song. So it's a balancing act. The song has to have the right expressiveness, but not too much, kind of thing. And the words have to feel really true, right? But if it's some kind of trite, been there, done that kind of thing, of course, it doesn't have the freshness to really sort of get to us and make us feel that feeling again. So he has to have a fresh way of conveying certain emotional things, but it also has to ring true, right? So if it's so obscure that you don't know what it's about, it doesn't feel very emotional either. But if you want to strike the right balance between being understandable and yet being poetic and artsy, and have a fresh spin on how to describe something, I think that is one of the keys in sort of getting to the audience. And finally, the punchline has to work in the music, in that if it's not placed in the right moment in the music, and it's really not just about the punchlines, but what comes before and what comes after, right? The whole song needs to be constructed in a way so that the key moment in the song happens with the right musical moment matched with right sort of lyrical moment, just delivering the sort of the final blow or the core emotional expression of too many big words, but it has to deliver the just the punch at the right moment. So it's not easy as a songwriter. Of course, my intention when I'm writing a song is not to make people cry. However, as a artistic songwriter or a songwriter with sort of a self-expression as a primary motivator, I do concern with, do my songs convey something that I feel deeply, and when I do that, can I listen to my own song and get teary-eyed or get emotional if I was listening to it with sort of from the audience perspective. And these are the kind of qualities that I would look for in my own songwriting if the song is intended to convey something rather emotional. So it is a not necessarily like a goal for songwriting. It's just one of the outcomes that can happen as the result of you wanting to write a mature, expressive song. But when it happens, it is a powerful thing, and from a creator's point of view, it is very gratifying when that happens. Well, the other thing to keep in mind is that although obviously the songwriter and the performers may be pumping their emotions into these songs, if the audience doesn't have a cache of that feeling or don't have the ability to feel that, obviously that doesn't really translate. So from the listener's perspective, you always have to realize that you're bringing your own feelings into the listening experience, and then when the music and the musicians and the audience meet in the middle with the same feelings, then that's when the moment feels very rich in emotions. So the reason I bring that up is the songs that make me cry obviously will not make you cry necessarily, because the feelings that I have are mine and it's not the same as yours. But there are some universal things that can happen, and obviously with certain like tragic things or poignant things, more of us tend to respond to that than others. Me as a sort of a sensitive, empathic type with probably sadness and poignance and melancholy as one of my dominant favorite feelings, I'm probably more easily teary-eyed with songs, or tearjerkers tend to work really well for me. That's a funny way to put it. But when you're thinking about songs, I think it's worthwhile to think, you reflect upon, oh, I'm crying listening to this song. Why is that? What feelings does this song bring out in me? And you could use that as again just healing catharsis if you need to just cry out, or if you feel like you just need to just engage in something that makes you feel connected with something deep and meaningful. Okay, so I put them more or less in the order of, from my perspective, I think from more well-known songs to maybe less well-known songs. So hopefully in the first few you might find ones that you've heard of, and then you might have some discoveries later on. So stay with me, okay? Okay, the first band, in my opinion, is a master tearjerker, and I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory, mocking kind of way. I mean, they are really good at tugging our heartstrings. Death Cab for Cutie. And I would imagine that a lot of people gravitate towards I'll Follow You in the Dark, a poignant song from the Plans album. My pick is the other tearjerker in that album, the What Sarah Said. And What Sarah Said is from like I said, from the Plants album, which came out in 2005, and it was a one of the more slick produced albums. It has a more cinematic sound than their like earlier sort of more indie rock type sound, and this one is a piano driven and very very poignant, and it deals with the story of, well, it paints the picture, not necessarily a story, but it paints a picture of what it's like to wait in the waiting room waiting for somebody to die, and of course the punchline is this picture towards the end about there's no comfort in the waiting room, just nervous paces bracing for bad news, right? And then the nurse comes around and everyone lifts their heads, but I'm thinking of What Sarah Said. that love is watching someone die. And for me, this makes me think about when my father passed away about 13 years ago. He died of ALS, and it was a cruel thing to watch him gradually sort of become weaker, and I know it was torture for him to stay alive in that state. You know, people dying is not this sudden sort of beautiful thing in movies. It's not pretty, and it's stressful, and it drags on, and it's a process, right? And so it really hits me home when it says that love is watching someone die. The other side, I would say that to add to that though, is that I know my father contemplated suicide because he just could not bear the pain of slowly losing his mobility to the point of obviously his critical functions failing. But he thought about how, you know, his taking his own life would affect his family, so he chose to stay with us to the bitter end. So, you know, the other way is true. Love is to let someone watch you die. That is also love. So I think that we were fortunate that my father met his end. It was obviously earlier than we had hoped, but in the way that he did, and he set me a great example of you know, how to conduct himself in that situation. So anyway, so let's listen to a little bit of that moment in what Sarah said.
'Cause there is no comfort in the waiting. Just nervous paces bracing for bad news. And then the nurse comes round and everyone lifts their heads. But I'm thinking of what Sarah said, that love is watching someone die.
Okay, I mean, that is so expertly done. It's that the moment of sparseness and silence for that line to be delivered. Silence is a powerful tool in creating a sense of poignance. Something else is that you know, song is, and you find this to be true in all of these songs, in that actually sad songs are not necessarily delivered in with minor chord and sad sounding music per se. The underlying music that may not sound actually overtly sad, but when there is a emotional, poignant lyric delivered on top of a, you know, slightly actually more happy or more uplifting beat, that seems to be a magical combination for creating this poignance that really gets you gets you weeping. Anyway, so let's get for Cutie, what Sarah said. Okay, this next band is one of my all-time role models, the Wet Sprocket, and they are also known for poignant, poetic lyrics that has such wisdom and such ways to help us relate. Glenn Felix has way with words that always makes things sound fresh, but when you listen to him and read the lyrics, it's like, oh yeah, that is really what it's like. So he's just a great role model for me. This song is Fly From Heaven from their 1994 Dulcinea album. It's an opening track, and to me, what gets to me about this song is a story about Jesus told from his brother James' point of view, but not a religious song in any way at all. It's basically a raw reaction from a brother who witnessed his, beloved family member get killed, and then people who come after him sort of take his words and take his work and just kind of use it for their own purposes, and the sense of bewilderment and disillusionment and anger and confusion. It's just a really rich, complex tapestry of all these feelings that seem so real to me. But where it gets to me in this song is actually that toward, again, it's the bridge is a great place to always deliver the punchline, but from the bridge to the last chorus is where it really takes a turn, where he's going, they denied his beauty and laid him down at the feet of those he couldn't save, right? So from his point of view, it was like the ultimate letdown, like he couldn't save them. But then in the last chorus, it comes back with the question going, will it be the end, or is he still ascending? And if he's all you say, would he fly back from heaven to this world again? So there is sort of the final sort of from disillusionment to he opens himself up to this sense of longing and wishfulness in a way. To me, that is kind of a really brave thing, that after seeing his brother die and just be crushed, it's easy, I think, to end the song going, well, I mean, the whole thing was a sham, I'm broken. But instead he goes, is it really what, as you say, right? He just leaves the door open for the possibility, and for, whatever beliefs and faiths that may come into place, to leave the door open for maybe that's not the end of the story. And I think that's just beautifully done. I think why I relate to that is the idea of course, these stories, and there's all kinds of thoughts and feelings about, what do you believe and what you don't, and what's true and what's not, and we each have our own answers. And this one doesn't really create any answers for us either, but yet I think it's a beautiful thing to say, I'm gonna just sit with these questions, right? And I'm going to be open to whatever might come back to that. And that's where my story ends, with the questions. Okay, the third song on my list is from the other all-time favorite band of mine, King's X. Now, King's X also has a number of really powerful, poignant songs. False Alarm is another one, and A Box is another one. Just all reduces me to tears. But for today, I want to pick a slightly less obvious choice, and this is a song called If from the Tones album. And this is less of a story and it's more of a statement. And it's a statement about longing, right? And I think that why it's so powerful is it's not complicated. It's not this where the last song was like rich and complex in some ways. This one is really simple, but and in repeating these statements over and over, the chorus, it just really builds up sort of this feeling, or it just kind of brings out that sense of longing inside me. The words the chorus goes, if I could move to the middle, if I could go outside, if I could give in a little, I'll make it work this time, right? Yeah, make it work this time. I mean, that is something that, I mean, if you ever struggle with anything and keep going, I mean, I think that is a sentiment that we can all relate to. It didn't work out, you just keep showing up, you keep tweaking, you keep changing, you don't give up, you show up and make it work this time. And to me, that is something definitely that rings really true in my life. This next song is from yet another role model of mine, Cloud Cult, who is an indie rock band from Minnesota, my hometown heroes. They've been around for a really long time now, like 20 years, and they have national and international following now, but they're obviously hometown heroes. They are a band with such conscientious, caring outlook to their band. I mean, I think all the bands that I really gravitate toward have very strong, distinct values. Cloud Cult started out with a lot of concerns for the environment. They're pioneers in being carbon neutral while going on tour and things like that, or creating the merch in environmentally friendly ways. But I think in the last few years, Craig Minowa, their chief songwriter, really sort of started diving deeper into our psychic issues or struggles or pain, and so their more recent songs really dive head deep into that. And I feel like this album, Light Chasers from 2010, is a masterpiece in my opinion. It's a concept album that tells a kind of a story, not a concrete story, but there is an arc of this spiritual journey in this song, about going on a mission, and this metaphor of spaceship and the crew. And the song that I'm gonna play for you is the last song. There's so much energy in us, and the thing is, they're at the end of the story after a long and arduous journey, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying they don't find it. They don't find whatever it is that they're looking for. But yet, while the crew, is just kind of starting to fall apart in dismay, the captain says, "No, but we are so close to it. And we're so ever close to it. And there's still so much energy in us." And to me, that is sort of how I interpret that is, we in our own whatever healing journey or personal development or whatever, you just keep digging deeper and deeper, and there's never really an end where you might feel like you're like, oh, I'm completely healed, or I'm 100%, or whatever. But it's not about the outcome, or it's not about the goal. It's about the journey. And I know that sounds kind of trite and cliche, but it's true. At least in my life, is that you might have a milestone here and there. You might have celebrations. You might achieve things, but then you just keep going. That's not the point, right? The point is not to get somewhere. The point is to be on the way, and life is what happens on the way. And so counting on going somewhere and expending all your energy, I mean, that's just not how it works. And so it just really gets to me at the end of the very first, at the end of the song. He talks about, the mission's over now and my breath is running out, but I can't let go of it, right? And I didn't mean what I said before. I love you more than this. And the lights fill the air, and maybe they were always there. And he's like, I finally see it. And you're always very close to it. We still have energy in us to keep going. And man, that's profound in my opinion. It just really gets to me. So here it is.
The mission's over now, and my breath is running out. Can't let go of it, can't let go of it. I didn't mean what I said, I didn't mean what I said. I love you more than this, I love you more than this. The lights, they fill the air, or were they always there? I finally see it, I finally see it. And I heard the captain say, I heard the captain say, you're always close to it, so very close to it. There's so much energy in us. There's so much energy in us. There's so much energy in us. There's so much energy in us.
Cloud Cloud is, like I said in the beginning, a hometown hero. So whenever they play locally, it is just such a jubilation. It is just, and obviously this is not the only emotional and powerful song in their catalog either. I mean, he's been churning them out since, lately. It's just every album seems to contain these just amazing anthems that really sort of hits us somewhere deep inside. So, that I really admire that. It's just, they're amazing. The next band on my list is SHEL. And SHEL is spelled SHEL, and they are a group made up of 4 homeschooled sisters from Colorado. And they are kind of a straddled sort of the border between folk and pop music, with really virtuosic instrumental playing. Each of them are experts in their own instrument. There's Eva on mandolin, and Hannah on piano and keyboard, and Sarah on violin, fiddle, and then Liza on drums and percussion and beatboxing. And they're amazingly talented young ladies. But not only that, they write these songs that are just so true. That sounds ridiculous. Not them. That's the way I describe it. But they just write songs that really, some of it is flamboyant, some of it is kind of cutesy and silly, and some of it is just downright dark and stark, and and just mind-blowing, that the range that they can convey. But in all of them there is a honesty and truth in terms of how we feel, how life is. So the song I picked out is called Is the Doctor In Today. It's the opening track from their 2016 album called Just Crazy Enough. And this is a song about loneliness. And but not only that, of course there are plenty of songs about loneliness, but to me this is just the ultimate expression of, I don't want to sound like woe is me kind of thing, just but the desperation of loneliness. It really, to me, paints the picture of what it's like in this to live in this digital age, and we're swimming in the voices and noise of people saying things that are important and things that are not important, things that are true and things that are not true, and just this sea of voices and noises. That rhymes. And but yet there are more ways to connect, but yet you feel so disconnected and you're drowning in the sea, and you're kind of going, is there anybody there? And me being an immigrant here in US, and I have read or heard somewhere that there is a sort of a depths of loneliness that you feel when you're in a foreign culture that is, it's hard to compare with other things. Again, I'm not trying to be like woe is me kind of thing. It is my choice to live here, but couple that with being sensitive and empathic and all that stuff, I certainly relate to this feeling of just wandering, right? And this is a feeling that is in most of us, I think, and especially if any of us struggle with mental illness or mental health issues. The lower it goes, the more disconnected you feel, and you start asking this question: is there anybody there? Do I really matter? Am I heard? Does it matter that I'm here? Right? So it just really gets to me in the bridge of the song and the climax. Really, when she's going, calling out in all the noise, is anybody there, right? Maybe you hear me late at night. I've been searching all my life. Is there anybody there? Yeah, that's certainly brings out strong feelings in me. So here it is. It's the Doctor In Today.
Well, I think I hear a voice calling out in all the noise. Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Maybe you hear me late at night. I've been searching all my life. Is there anybody there?
So I heard the chief songwriter Eva talk about this song, and I do know that when she wrote it, it came from, when she was in a very dark place. So if she tunes in too much to what she put into this song, it gets to her too. So I know that it is a really authentic thing that she is conveying here, and like I said, it's a feeling that we all feel too. I think we all feel it profoundly at least at some point in life. Maybe not. But you know, if you can relate, I think it will do you good to listen to this song and just cry it out. Again, crying helps. So, highly recommended. It's The Doctor In Today by SHEL. This next song is from singer-songwriter Christa, who is a Nashville-based songwriter, and she released an album called Feed Your Soul in 2013. The whole album is really great, and I thought about picking this another song which would be probably quite appropriate for those of us in the current pandemic circumstance, called This Thing Is Not Going to Break You. That's also really poignant, and I recommend that one also. But I'm gonna choose this song called Renovate for my list. And the reason is she's talking about how the concept of renovation and every master builder must tear down to renovate, and she's asking, take all the time you need, make something out of me, even if it means you tear me down to renovate. Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the process of getting older has been one of like getting increasingly smaller and smaller in some ways, in that things that used to work for me as I get older don't anymore, and I lose interest, in my range of interest or range of things that I do become smaller and smaller. I myself have this image of me being again leaner, getting leaner and leaner and smaller, more stoic in some ways. Not saying that has any virtue for being stoic or anything like that. Just an observation. But I don't think that life and growth have to be painful. But for some of us, we're dense enough that we have to do it that way. And so I really relate to this idea of master builder. Yes, you can tear me down so that we can build a new person in its place. And dearly, I hope that there is something to be made out of me there.
Try to hang the stars alone. I saw it all burn and the flatbed knew word. It was clear you were here to build a home. You were here to build a home. All gain comes through loss. You burn away the dross, and every master builder must tear down to renovate. Take all the time you need, make something out of me. Oh, even if it means you tear me down to renovate. Take all the time you need, make something out of me. Oh, even if it means you tear me down to renovate.
Okay, the last song that I'm going to share with you is from actually a very long time band, indie band, rock band called the 77s. They've been around since the 80s, and they still exist and make music to this day. But my choice, they have this song called The Lust, the Flesh, the Eyes, and the Pride of Life. that they released in different albums. The version I'm gonna pick for this list is from a 1990 album called Sticks and Stones, which is actually kind of a B-sides, compilations, unreleased kind of thing up to that point. And this is one of the fan favorites of the 77s, you know, having been around for that long, although they're very much sort of an indie underground kind of band. I think it has this appeal to the fans because it's actually a fairly poppy, happy, groovy tune. But what it's talking about is the vein of you know, doing these things or making efforts to get worldly things and approvals. And where it hits me home is that actually, you know, this gets kind of a, you know, maybe in the dirty laundry kind of range. But in my therapy, I'm realizing how I'm, you know, desperate, or I didn't get, well, I feel that I didn't get enough attention from, you know, in my early life, and I'm just starving for attention, and I'm doing this and that to make myself deserve people's attention and approval. And I'm sure there are people who can relate to that sentiment, right? Just trying so hard to sort of hang your hope on every line that you get from somebody else, going, you know, am I a good person? Am I okay to exist? Am I good enough? And so the last stanza of this song, you know, where and I'm, you know, it's talking about he's looking for other people, he's looking to other people to tell him how groovy he is and how he's, you know, looking grand, and every single word makes me think I'll live forever, never knowing that they probably won't remember what they said tomorrow, right? And tomorrow I could be dead. I mean, that's how fleeting that is, to just look for that approval, to look for that assurance that you can exist, that you can remain here in somebody else's eyes, and how futile that is. You know, so then the chorus comes in and says, the lust of flesh, the eyes, and the pride of life drain the life right out of me. Yeah, and I start bawling right there. It's just so true. So true. Okay, so there it is. Those are some of my recent tearjerker songs that give me a good cry if I pay attention to it, and makes me feel better about life afterwards. And again, these songs may not work for you. You probably have other songs that make you cry and make you feel better about your life. And I'm interested in knowing which songs make you cry. So please let me know in comments your favorite songs to cry to. Really, I feel that songs that makes us cry are like shoulders to cry on for us. It's it really tells us that we're not alone in this feeling. To me, I keep coming back to the analogy of songs or like, with your close friends or best friend, with whom you feel like you can tell the truth, that you can confide your deepest, darkest, most vulnerable secrets. You can do that safely with songs. So the songs that make us cry are just such gifts. They are such gifts. Alright, that's all I have for you today. I hope you found it entertaining to watch me, get misty-eyed and melodramatic. But thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.